Hi, I'm Slawek with iDrinkCoffee.com. Today I'm proud to present the Mahlkonig X64 SD. That's the new single-dose offering from Mahlkonig. Mahlkonig, quite literally, is the king of grinders. That's what their name translates into. König means king. While their entry into the single-dose market may be perceived as a little late because there's all these other grinders out on the market, the X64 SD really is something special. I am quite impressed by both the build quality and the performance of this grinder. In order to present the X64 SD, I'm going to show you its features, and I'm also going to brew coffee in two different ways. I'm going to make a pot of coffee, and I'm going to make a shot of espresso. So it's going to show you how easy it is to, first of all, clean the grind chamber and switch coffees, because I'm going to use two different coffees, and also to switch between brewing methods without any contamination. So the Mahlkonig single dose comes in two different colors. I've got the black here, but it also comes in white. And you're able to configure the grinder in a number of different ways. The way I have it set up currently is, I think, optimal for espresso. So I've got the bellows directly on the grinder, and the bellows are used to kind of blow air through the grind chamber in order to clean the grind chamber to get to as close as possible to zero retention. And I'll go into that when I'm making coffee. Below the spout here, I have a dosing cup. This is good for 58mm portafilters, the most common. And of course, there's this adapter here that just reduces spray, keeps the grinds going into that dosing cup. The other accessories that are included with the X64 SD is the hopper, and you can figure it a couple of different ways. So I can just put the hopper directly onto the grinder. This is a small hopper, keeps it still very low profile, and you can put your coffee in there and dose as you need it. I'll show you another kind of cool thing. Underneath this hopper, we have a little cheat sheet. And what this is, it tells us more or less where to set the grind for a particular brew method. So espresso is kind of between 0 and 2. Then we have filter coffee, cold brew. Those are the ones that are included here, but also French press is also quite coarse. You can use this grinder for a variety of different brewing methods. Also included is an alternate lid. This lid goes onto the hopper here, and it has a hole in it so you can pour your coffee through there, like I'll be doing in a little bit when I brew with the Moccamaster, and it will also prevent some popcorning. The bellows is also compatible with the hopper on, so we can remove the lid and put the bellows directly onto the hopper. It doesn't have to be directly onto the grinder. It works that way as well. In terms of operation, it can't be any simpler. There's just one button. We press it to turn the motor on, and then we press it again to turn the motor off. I like the button here. It's a nice, robust kind of switch. Feels good to use. So the grind adjustment is on the right-hand side. There is a large knob that's actually quite easy to use. We move the knob away from us, so towards the back of the grinder in order to make the grind coarser. And we move the knob towards us in order to make the grind finer. And of course, this does have a stepless adjustment, so there's an infinite amount of adjustability. You can really dial in your espresso. So now let's give this grinder a try. Let's see it in action. The first thing that I'm going to do is a double shot of espresso. And alongside the X64 SD, I'm using a Marzocco Linea Micra. And in order to dose, I'm using a Whitebird metal scale and some Loveramics dosing trays. These are really quite beautiful. I love using these for single dosing. It just makes, it looks good, and they're a pleasure to use. So what I'm going to do, I have got my scale here taired. I'm going to dose out 18 grams of coffee because that's where we have it set. So I have 18 grams of coffee in my tray. What I would like to do, I'm going to measure what we get out. So I'm actually going to put the dosing cup here and tare that. So that's 0. Now for espresso, it's only 18 grams of coffee, so I'm actually going to remove the hopper and I'm going to pour the coffee directly into the grind chamber. So the best way to do this, of course, is to start the motor. And then I'm just going to pour my 18 grams of coffee in. I could put my bellows down at this point. The coffee grinds through, and again, I'm going to now press the bellows a number of times in order to get any coffee that's inside the grind chamber out and into the dosing cup. Then I turn it off, and I'm going to weigh the result It's actually 18 dead on, which is remarkable. So really, there should only be specks of coffee left in there. Of course, it's completely impossible to get every single kind of grain, but we're very, very close. 18 dead on, that's amazing. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer the coffee over to my portafilter. To do that, I'm just gonna remove this adapter, put the dosing cup on, transfer the coffee into my portafilter. I'm using a ASO leveler and a puck press mini in order to tamp. Beautiful. And as you can see, we're getting a very nice extraction of coffee. Just stop it right there. You can see inside we have two nice shots of espresso, good striping. I'm going to give one a taste, of course. Really nice. So next, let's say I have my shot of espresso in the morning, and now I want some drip coffee. This is where this grinder really shines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this aside, my dosing cup, and I'm going to use a larger dosing cup. Now this isn't included inside the box, but this is an optional accessory. I need a larger amount of coffee because I have 1.25 liters of water. So what I'm actually going to grind is 50 grams of coffee for this. And in order to do that, I'm going to take the bellows, put it aside for a moment, and put this hopper on with the lid with the hole in it because I'm going to be pouring through that hole. I'm also going to be using the dosing tray, except this time I'm going to use the larger one. And these dosing trays actually come in sets of two. They also nest in one another for storage, which is super cool. I really, really like this product. So I'm using the larger one. I'm putting it onto my Whitebird scale. I'm going to tare again. And I'm using a different coffee this time. This time I'm using a coffee from Zambia. It's a fermented coffee. It's a much lighter roast than what I used. It's a much lighter roast than what I used for the espresso. And like I said, I'm going to be doing 50 grams. Went a little bit over. There we go, 50 grams on the dot. Now the last step that I'm going to need to do is, of course, I need to change my grind. So I'm taking a quick look at this. Filter is 4, so I'm just going to adjust my grind coarser. I'm going to take it all the way up to 4. And we're ready to go. So I turn the grinder on and begin putting in my coffee. Kind of wait for the last little beans. So we had one pop out. You see popcorn? We lost one bean, but I can, of course, put that in there. I'm going to stop it there. Take this lid off. And again, put the bellows on to get the last of that coffee out of there. Now we did have a little bit of static, but again, it is quite dry where I'm at, but there are kind of solutions to that. What you can do is you can spray a small amount of water onto the coffee, just give it a little bit of a spritz. That generally does help with kind of static cling, but any place you have friction, you're gonna have static. Okay, and with my Technivorm, all I've gotta do is take my filter, add my coffee. Super easy, just kind of even it out. Set it to full pot and turn it on. Super simple. Technivorm is a legendary coffee maker. Its reputation is very well earned. This is the yellow pepper, I believe. Just a really attractive product. That is getting its last couple of drips. Takes about, generally about 5-6 minutes, I think, to make a pot with a Technivorm. And let's give this a try now as well. I've got my Bond, Loveramic's Bond coffee mug, which is also one of my favorites, a very traditional mug. And let's give this a try. Lovely. This coffee is very different than the one I had before, which was a Brazilian. This Zambian fermented coffee is very different, very bright. It's a light roast. It's just, it's wonderful. Generally speaking, in the grinder market or the grinder segment, especially when it comes to specialty coffee, most manufacturers and most companies, ourselves included, believe that it will diverge into two different categories. On one side, we're going to have the grind by weight people who like the convenience of and the speed of grind by weight. And on the other hand, we're going to have the single dose camp. And those are people who like to switch their coffees up, who don't want any retention, who want the freshest possible coffee. The X64 SD is designed, of course, for those people that want to single dose. I really like this grinder for a lot of reasons. It has a new aesthetic, something that we haven't seen a lot before. It's got a kind of a modern design. I was actually on the fence when I first saw this, but when I saw it in person, my mind changed completely. I love the way this grinder looks. Build quality is excellent. I didn't mention this before, but the body of this grinder is made entirely out of metal. It's not plastic, so it's nice and sturdy. It's heavy. It feels good in your hand. While Mahlkonig might be late to the single dose segment, they're certainly not too late. And they've introduced a product which I think is quite well thought out and deserving of their name as the king of grinders. If you have any questions about the Mahlkonig X64 SD single dose grinder, about the Marzocco Linea Micra, about the Technivorm Moccamaster, or any one of our products, please feel free to reach out to idrinkcoffee.com. We're here to help. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this about coffee grinders, about espresso machines, coffee machines, everything to do with coffee. Thanks for watching and have a great day.